Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Soul's Journey podcast. This is a podcast where we are going to talk about the journey with ourselves, our soul, and the divine lessons we learn along the way. So, to start off, my name is Lola, and I've been in the spiritual community for about 8 years now. Though in that time, I haven't always admitted to myself that I've had a deep connection to the divine, the universe, and my soul's purpose, especially at the very beginning of it. What opened me up to the spiritual space was actually a horrible breakup. And as I was sobbing, I was provided a lot of, I'll say, otherworldly support that I would consider my guides and angels. I ended up being gifted a tarot deck because I told the universe, after already feeling drawn toward tarot as a divination, if I'm really supposed to read tarot, please have me be gifted a tarot deck. Because I felt at the time kind of uncomfortable going out of my way. It was probably one of the first things as in like hobby or a passion, maybe. It wasn't a passion yet, but I felt connected to it. And it was one of the first times I was really going to ask for something that I was like all about, right? So, I said, if I'm really supposed to read tarot, please have me be gifted a deck. And wouldn't you know it, a few months later, I got a tarot deck for Christmas without ever directly asking for it. I mentioned I wanted one. I never directly asked for it. And the person who gifted me it, I had no clue that they were going to gift me it. Over the years, I've gone back and forth between accepting, fighting, and being content with my connection to the divine and what I felt was my purpose. It took a lot of time, love, events, heartbreak, and friendships, and probably an insane amount of patience from my guides for me to admit that this is where I need to be. Creating grounded spiritual content and talking about my personal transformation is, I think, going to be the start of a lot of things in my life that I would say are connected and tied to my purpose. And that's what I mean when I say that this is where I need to be. I've read tarot for years now. Even when I was going back and forth on what I wanted to do with my life, it was still something that I felt a connection to. Even at my lowest point, I wasn't necessarily reading the cards, but I still felt connected to that divination. Just to put that in perspective, when I say I've gone back and forth before, I'm pretty certain in where I am now and what I want to do. But there were times when I wasn't sure. And I've been into self-development for a couple years now, and in that time, I've really formed a lot how I think about life, the universe, and how they interact with each other. As someone who has explored many different ways of practicing spirituality and deciphering between different belief systems, I can say that the perspectives I hold on how I practice my spirituality and my belief systems are more on the unique side of what the current spiritual community practices, regardless of the social platform or area. What I choose to believe now has accelerated my life, and I feel like every day I'm closer and closer to my soul's purpose and what I'm passionate about, which of course, if you couldn't tell, I love tarot, so huge passion, but another one has been my own personal transformation and the how I've gotten to where I am now, with the help of the divine and it guiding me. Also helping people with their own personal transformation. I'm going to give the disclaimer, I do not believe that my way of practicing spirituality is the ultimate right way. I am not here to change your mind, your beliefs, or way you live your life. In fact, I believe that everyone is meant to have their own individualized beliefs as a part of their human experience. Even ones that do fall on the more religious sector of esoteric beliefs, regardless of if they overlap with others, as they probably will, no matter what you choose to practice, if you choose to practice anything. I'm here creating this podcast, making it, and choosing to follow a vision with it because I think and feel intuitively that the perspective I have on spirituality is important to share with the world and worthy of being heard. I'm here because spiritual development, philosophy, and the human experience is the love of my life. One of a few. One of a few. But those subjects definitely are just, I can't get enough of them. And I want to share my love and passion for these topics with you as a human who has lived through a lot of massive change in the world and has still chosen to transform their life despite what has gone on. Some things that are going to be covered in the podcast are my journey with spiritual development and spiritual development as a whole, self-development and the connection between the two, esoteric beliefs, metaphysical practices, the connection between the mind, the body, and the soul, spell work, philosophy, grounding, which is my favorite. This is quite a list I have here. I can't believe I'm covering all this. Mental health, which I am in no way a mental health professional. I am simply someone who has had quite a few diagnoses and feel that I've worked through quite a few of them. So that's that when I say mental health. Like I said, I'm not a mental health professional. Faith, past lives, reincarnation, psychic and intuitive gifts, our souls, massive change in the world, guides, angels, books, crystals, and pretty much anything else that could fit under the umbrella of self-development, esoteric beliefs, or philosophy, but not limited to those subjects either. And I would like to say, if these hobbies or themes catch your eye, maybe you're driving and you're like, kind of stuck on that one thing. Or maybe it's like a week later and you're still thinking about how I said, let me pick one from the list. Past lives. You should subscribe and follow because these are things that I'm going to be talking about on here. And second, I want you to journal about them. And when you journal about them, I want you to make a promise to yourself that you are going to be nothing but honest. And I want to ask you, why? Why do these things interest you? Why do you feel an attachment to them? Do they seem familiar to you? What are you feeling in your body, your mind, and your intuition when these are brought up? And here's a hint. There's no right or wrong answers to any of them. I want you to allow yourself the space to be open and honest, because being that and doing those things for yourself could change your life more than you could ever know. But you do need to give yourself that opportunity. Being open and honest with myself, with my soul, about what I want to pursue in this lifetime has changed my life more than I ever thought possible. So if you have nothing else to think about, know that it has worked for at least one person. But, being open and honest is with yourself. That's kind of the whole gist of self-development too. So I'd say it works. Something I want to leave you with today is to remember your humanness. While we may get swept up in our esoteric and metaphysical practices, which for me is just such an indulgence in life to tap into energy from the divine, is so beautiful. It's such a little treat, which I know is like a weird way to like talk about it, but I feel like it's not talked about enough. I think a lot of what I've seen lately, especially over like the last like couple of years, has been just diving headfirst into a metaphysical practice without taking care of yourself. And like I said, remember your humanness. We are human beings. We have a human vessel. And this might sound contradicting depending on what part of the spiritual community you're around, but it is important to remember we are human beings and we are living and having a human experience. Now, you don't have to believe that you chose to be here on earth or that you chose to reincarnate here, but you do need to recognize you are a human. In all of your joy, love, pain, and wonder, you are a beautiful, living, breathing human being with more potential than you probably recognize. I do want to mention it is more of an esoteric belief that we have chosen to reincarnate and just reincarnation as a whole and come here, and it is one I do follow, but it is not one you need to take on, especially when you're pursuing your own spiritual development. It's just one I hold very strongly, and I do want to give that disclaimer. Overall, I'd want Overall, I want this podcast to be many things. I want it to be a safe space for those who may feel like they want to explore the metaphysical space, but feel too nervous or out of place. This is that space for you. I remember when I first got into spirituality and I was just like looking on YouTube and kind of seeing what was out there. At the time, I'd say there weren't too many tarot readers on YouTube. I still watch the tarot readers that I started watching years ago. They are the same ones that they're the same ones that completely did open or help me to open my mind into a more spiritual way of thinking. Now, years later, I think it is incredible. We have so many different tarot readers on YouTube, online, on Etsy. And I've even seen wax readings where you take a candle and what I saw in the video was her having a candle, she lit it and it would drop into the water and she would read the wax in the water. I've only seen it once. I'm not exactly sure how it's supposed to be practiced, but that's what I saw, and she didn't really exclaim she was doing anything differently, so I would assume that that's how that divination for, I guess it's called a wax reading, would kind of work. And how incredible is that? That we have so many metaphysical practices. I love it. I love it so much. But I will say, in the time we have created, I wouldn't say created, in the time the space has expanded, there is a little bit more human ego in the space now than there was when I started. People put their aesthetic, some of them, I would say some people who are big in the metaphysical space who may call themselves channels, readers, they may put an aesthetic first, and you may feel as though you have to fit that. Like, you don't need to have 20 crystals or wear crystal jewelry to practice this. You don't have to wear loose, baggy clothes. You don't have to wear little to no clothes. You don't have to wear all clothes and cover up. Like, you can do whatever you want, you know? And that's what I mean when I say this is a space for you. It's not for one type of aesthetic or one type of person. This is for anyone who just wants to open their mind, take on another perspective, be open to it. I want to help people transform, change, and develop their lives using the techniques I have, especially when working with your guides, spirit, and the universe. And I want to promote spirituality not just as a way of living and being, but as an enlightened and independent and intentional journey anyone can choose to start, no matter who you are. Age, gender, I'm drawing a blank here. There's more to this, right? Race, nationality. I already said age. What job you work, where your passions lie. None of that can stop you from choosing to start your journey. You're not supposed to fit into a box to practice spirituality. It's the entire opposite. And I am so sorry if anyone has ever convinced you or told you that you had to change anything about yourself to be a part of it or fit into, to practice spirituality. You are supposed to embrace every single piece and part of yourself and your soul and live life as authentically and as passionately as you can, which, yes, especially now in the world, is much easier said than done. But that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to. I believe with my whole heart and soul that you would not be here on this earth without a reason. You are so important. And I wish I could come through whoever's listening to this and just tell them, whether you doubt it or not, you are important. The universe is intentional in everything it does. Okay? To wrap it up, I have some big ideas for this podcast and ways I want to impact the world in positive manners. In a positive manner? In positive ways. This podcast is just one extension of everything I enjoy discussing, and you are here listening to that. And isn't that incredible? So, if any of this sounds interesting to you, which you're still listening, so I'm sure something piqued your interest, subscribe, follow. I ask that you share it so others can also become a part of our community and we can talk more about these things. And comment so I can get an idea of what you think, any suggestions you have, and anything you'd like to say, I am open to. So, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye!